It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Friday, August 18th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Until the End with Daniel Baker, the Wednesday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And you must be super happy, ecstatic, excited because it's Friday and the weekend is here. If you haven't yet, go ahead, leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message, ask me and learn from me. And powerful Wednesday message. Something couldn't have said it any better, but I think this plays into what we want to do for the Morning Star Drive, get some more testimonies out there. When you listen to the Wednesday message, you can't help but be inspired to testify about something. So I'll talk a little bit about some of my other experiences with Sunseam today also. But you know, what are your plans for the weekend, everyone? Anything new happening with you guys? Super cool to see people on Instagram posting their stories about the summer retreats in Wilmington. It kind of feels like there's like a new feeling of pride in this history. Like people are just posting about Wilmington and stuff like that. There's no fear of posting, and I'm just wondering if this is all the effect of the peaceful protests, the demonstrations that are happening every week right now. And of course, I am crazy excited about the demonstrations this weekend. Supposed to be the big one, right? They say they said originally 15,000, but personally, my feeling is it's going to be well over 15,000. Just my feeling. If you could pull 12,000 people 2 weeks ago, I think and that's just Seoul alone. If Seoul alone can pull up 12,000. From 2 weeks ago, I think Seoul will have more people coming. I think like Daejeon, the closer areas will come. And most likely, I think like, you know, Busan's pretty, they're like 6-hour drive away, but just my feeling is they're all going to come in and early watch, have Sunday service in Seoul, and then they're going to go join the protest. That's just my feeling, but I'm excited to see exactly what's going to happen, and I can't wait to see the numbers and the what do you call it, the newspaper reports that come out on that. Not newspaper, like news articles on it. Like no one reads a newspaper anymore, right? And speaking of Instagram stories, I always post about this healthy food that I'm eating and such. And someone's like asking me on my Instagram, like, hey, how much you weigh now, right? So, because, I'm just eating tons of fruits and veggies, a lot of meat, and I'm working out almost every day. So the last time I weighed myself was like 2 months ago. And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, I'm about 80 kilograms. Right? Maybe less than that, about 177 pounds. That's 80 kilograms, right? Yeah, so I'm about 80 kilograms, about 80 kilograms. So I checked my weight again. Just like, after this friend of mine asked me about my weight, I'll check it again. I'm actually now at 83 kilograms. So I'm normally 80... I would say I'm like 81 to 82 kilograms is usually where I'm at. So I'm actually higher than I'm normally at. So, I think I'm a little higher than I'm used to because, well, think about it. 2 months of exercise, 2 months of eating healthy. I think, a lot of it, I've gained probably a lot of muscle, even though I can't see it. Like, I don't feel bigger or anything else like that. So I just think I'm heavier. I don't feel like heavy. I don't feel like I'm carrying extra weight and such. So it's kind of interesting that I'm at this weight, but feeling very, very healthy about it. So I'm very, very happy. So yeah, 83 kilograms right now. Actually, it was 84 kilograms, but I was wearing shirts and shorts. So I'm thinking like 83, right? It should be about 1 kilogram for shorts and a t-shirt, no? Because I took my shoes off and everything else. So I had socks, shorts, and a t-shirt, and that's it. So maybe, yeah, that's why I'm guessing 83. But I was on the scale, it was 84. So I could be up to 84 possibly, but maybe 83. I don't know. How much do shorts and t-shirt and socks weigh? It doesn't weigh that much, right? So that's why I'm guessing about 83 kilograms, but I could be more. But like I said, I feel healthy and I feel strong. And yeah, I got no, I don't feel like I'm 83, 84 kilograms at all. So I'm very, very happy about this. It just means that I'm getting rid of the fat and putting on some more muscle. So, 2 months of working out like that, there should be a change in my weight, right? Oh, and by the way, remember I told you guys about the Discord? The Discord server. We actually already made the server. It's for lecturers around the world. We basically want to get, the English lecturers together. We can discuss together, have meetings, discuss on certain topics, how to teach and stuff like that too, sharing information and resources. And the reason why I was actually supposed to post up the link this week. However, I talked to IMD, and this is good news, guys. Even though it's going to be delayed, it's good news. I'm excited about this because I already sent the letter in, and they want to see what the actual full plan is. And they will be sending in a report to Sunsteam. So I'm excited about this because I haven't sent a letter in a long, long time. And just to hear that IMD is going to send this letter to Sunsteam and get the okay for this makes me really, really excited. And it just makes me feel good because it makes Sunsteam know that I'm still here. Through all the junk that's happened since March, I am still here, right? So just hold on tight. The applications will come out soon as we get the okay from Sunsteam. So I'm hoping that the letter will go out this weekend. Sunsteam will get it responded by next week. That's what I'm hoping for, right? And by the way, how was that Thursday morning pre-dawn? Just seeing Sunsteam preach, you get to see all the making of Wolmendong and stuff, and then you listen to Sunsteam preach. That was a Thursday pre-dawn. For me, it was just really good to see Sunsteam preach on video again. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very nostalgic, even though it's like before my time, right? Like that was even before 1998. And it was one of the things that really inspired me a lot is when Sunsteam, he's talking about, he's like, hey, I'm working all day. I barely get time to eat. Okay. Now, this almost sounds like a humble brag kind of thing, but what I know about Sunsteam, I'm sure everyone else out there knows about Sunsteam, is when he says I'm working all day, he's not just saying it. Like whoever's been to Warmington to go see Sunsteam, that's basically what he does. That's all you do is follow him around and you see him work all day. Like he is someone where he can't really lie about his life because you see like 80% of his life. You see it. Like the only time you don't see is when he's sleeping. Like that's like, it's really crazy when you think about the type of life he lives. He was living the social media life even before social media, right? Social media, you post everything and you get to see what's going on in someone's life. But when you think about it, before social media even came to be, everyone saw everything about his life. The times you didn't get to see him was like from midnight to like 4 a.m. And then once again, he's out, he's praying, he's doing pre-dawn, he's preaching the message, he's going like, he was someone where everyone can see his day-to-day like comings and goings, right? And, I'm going to be honest about it sometimes too. When I went to go visit Sunsteam in Wolmingdong or wherever he was, sometimes I would be like bored because you're just watching for hours and hours. You know what I mean? Like, and it's maybe not bored, but you're tired. You're just so tired from standing and watching the entire time, right? And he's talking to you while he's pruning, and sometimes he's not saying anything. You just kind of sit there watching it, right? And he's showing his life to us. Like every moment of his life. And you're watching him work all day long. You know what? I even think that in the future, they should just have someone who's going live stream 24 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? Like imagine it. Like this is something that's quite interesting. I actually said to AJ a while back before Sunsteam came out in 2018, I was like, you should have someone, Sunsteam make Instagram, a private Instagram, and from that, just post all the different things that he's doing. Or you can do like an Instagram live stream. And that live stream is basically going to show what Sunsteam's doing all the time. People can just get on and watch what he's doing. And for me, like, I'm just like, that would be so freaking amazing, right? Because, and I would say that if we would have done that from 2018, all these lawsuits would have gone out the window because you'd see exactly what he did, right? So, for me, I was just like, yeah, like this would be really, really like, but people are watching him all the time, Now, in 2018, when Sunstein first came out, he had to rest and recover, and later, I forget what month I went in, but I was one of the first foreigner groups to see Sunstein, where Sunstein actually appeared in the body, right? Physically appeared. And we were waiting in the small service hall inside the 316 Memorial, and then the Rapture Memorial Hall, right? And then all of a sudden, he would come in, he would preach for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something along that line. And then we went straight outside to start pruning trees. And he's, in his suit, he's out there looking at the trees and like rebuking the workers for not taking care of these trees or pruning these trees really well. And we were out there for like 6 hours. I'm not sure if those of you who remember that time, 6 hours we were in our suits and stuff, just watching him prune trees. Like, of course, I was super happy to see him, but it wasn't easy to just stand there and watch for 6 hours. Like myself, I'm more of an action-oriented person, and I would prefer doing it together with him, but I just don't know enough to prune, right? And I don't want to make any mistakes. And also, when I think about it more deeply, like these are the moments of time that we're all going to have collectively, these moments of time that we have together with Sunstein. And those moments are never coming back. And as you see, he's getting closer to 80, and he's not going to be as healthy as he was before. And during those times, seeing Sunstein work, pruning, and doing all these things, that's like the peak time to have realizations. Whether realizations about yourself, whether realizations about life, about people, about newcomers, about this history, like that's the peak time. And what's going to happen in the future is, like, people are going to ask us what Sunstein was like, right? When Sunstein was living, what was he like? And it's kind of like John. Apostle John lived into his late, they say probably in his 80s. And he was like the last remaining apostle that lived at the time of Jesus, and he was so close. He's one of the three closest to Jesus. And everyone was asking, what was it like? And this is why you're going to see there's a huge difference from John's gospel to the other gospels, right? And yeah, those experiences we have together with him, that's going to be what we're left over, the stories we have together. And, even thinking about that time I spent with Sunstein in 2018, like when I look back, it's super inspiring. It might have been a little bit hard during that time, but it's really, really inspiring because when you think about the way Sunstein lives, there is just something so pure and genuine about his life. Like even for me, like the reason why I could say it's so pure and genuine because I was a head leader. I was a leader for a long time, and there's sometimes you don't feel like being a head leader. You don't feel like preaching. You don't feel like going out and meeting. Like you just don't. Like you don't want to be out there. There's just those times, but because they're there, you go out and you have to show yourself to the people, kind of thing, right? And I think everyone goes through this. Sometimes it's about school, not wanting to study, going to work. Sometimes we just don't want to do it, but we have to do it. I mean, you got to make money to pay your bills. You got to study to do your, to get your degree and stuff like that too. But with Sunstein, the thing that's so genuine about him, that when I look at his life, like if you're not genuine, if you're not really into something, you're going to find a way to stop doing it, or you're not going to put your all into it. But when you're there with Sunstein, like think about that, 6 hours of pruning, and then after that we go to eat, and then after that we meet. Like you're just he's constantly out and about, educating, pruning, and educating, and pruning, and playing sports, and educating, and then there's like. He was so genuine. He was genuinely upset that the trees were not being pruned while he was gone, and he's talking about it for 6 hours. He spent tons of time on each tree until it was absolutely done. He would notice the smallest issue with every single tree, and after it's done, it's so noticeable that you're like, whoa. He's like, look at the view now. I'm like, wow. Because of these trees, you didn't get a view of the skyline, of the mountains and such, and we're like, whoa, like you never really noticed it until he actually prunes it properly. But the thing about him is that what makes him even more genuine is he doesn't stop. It's constant. It's not just constant. It's so detailed. And I thought to myself, I was like, man, if people are watching me all the time, like you have no choice. I like, oh, I'd be so exhausted by it. I wouldn't want to come out the next day. But Sunsteam has people watching him all the time. And he has to always do well. And when I see, like, what does it mean by all the time is like, what's so mind-boggling to me is that I'm there to see him for like 3 to 4 days and I'm exhausted. But then when we leave, there's already another group coming in and we overlap each other. Like on the third day, there's another group from Japan that comes in. And then after Japan, there's a group from Taiwan that comes in. And the crazy part is his life is like an open book. Visitors never stop. They never stop. So here I am exhausted after 3 or 4 days, but it's constant. There's more people coming in, right? And if you talk to the people who are women workers, like, they talk about the times when no one is around, when you think you should, that he should take a rest and he should sit down. They're like, no, he's still working. We're exhausted, but he's still working, right? And, his life, like, it's not just pruning trees. He's educating about trees, educating about God through trees, then about rocks, playing soccer, playing volleyball and tennis, then more education on sports and life, sharing realizations again, preaching, then, like, all of us who've seen him can all testify. We can all testify that when we go to see him, like, make sure to prepare snacks. Make sure to prepare drinks. Make sure to be ready to be out all day. It's not like it's not like how we live at home, right? When we're at home, what do? We go to pre-dawn, we go back home, you get a little bit more rest, and you wake up, you shower, get ready for work. Well, it's like, it's very relaxed. But when you see Sunsteam, it's from the pre-dawn. From the pre-dawn, you see him praying on the stage, right? You see him praying, we're all praying, and then we get the word. And he delivers the word for like an hour or so, and then after the word is done, there's like, post-education where the live stream is cut off, but all the people there that are left and waiting are receiving even more word, talking to Sunsteam, we're joking around and laughing. And then after that, we go for breakfast, and then we go, and then even before breakfast is done, we're rushing because we're like, oh, we don't know what Sunsteam's gonna be next. He's out there already playing soccer, and then after soccer, he's giving us education on soccer, realizations, the things that he's talking about, he's going through, the things that he went through already. Then we move over to start pruning trees, and then he's pruning trees for hours and hours, and then there's education. He gives education on trees. Then you start, you eat lunch, and then after lunch, you go on a hike. And as you're hiking along with him, he's like, you stop at every major significant tree or rock, and he tells you the story for each and every one of them. And then, imagine if it was just a regular hike, it's going to be like 2 hours, but this is a hike with like a stop at every major tree, which means that hike is no longer 2 hours. That hike is now going to be like 4 or 5 hours. You stop at the gazebo. He starts preaching again, right? After that is done, you go back down, you have dinner, and then crazy part is he's out playing sports again. Then it's like really late into the night. He goes from soccer to volleyball to tennis, and he's just talking about sports and having fun, eating sweet potatoes, giving out snacks and food. And people's just, it's like really, really late at night. People start to leave. And then with the people remaining, because, there are always people that kind of remain to wait to talk to him even more. He starts speaking again with the people remaining. And after all this is said and done, you have been out since you got up at 3:30 a.m. to get ready to go to church and do from the pre-dawn, 3:30 a.m. and you get home 1-2 a.m. You're so exhausted you can barely take a shower. And then the next day, you do the exact same thing again. Starts at 4 a.m., go to prayer, whatever it is. It was so crazy, right? And like I said, people rotate, but Sunsteam remains. And he does it every single day. And when we, during the time, it's exhausting. But, when I look at Sunsteam, I think one of the things that he does is he cherishes every moment and all the time that he has. He cherishes it. Because he knows he's not going to be around long. He knows that he's not going to be able to see everyone. He knows that all these people came all the way from their cities, from other countries just to see him. And he's cherishing every moment of that time. But then here I am, kind of like, oh, I'm so tired. He's like, how long are we going to do this kind of thing? But he cherishes it even more than I do. And I flew like thousands of kilometers just to see him. And these are going to be the memories that we keep. And these are going to be the memories we keep forever. They are. And yeah, like even for me, being a foreigner, and those of you guys who are foreigners in smaller countries or who are like in Taiwan, Japan, like in the early days, remember how amazing it was when Sunseem visited your country? And it's done at such a small scale because there's not a lot of people. When in 1999, in January, when Sunseem came, there was like, 150 people in American Providence at that time. We all came together for this, for a conference. And like, we would be at his house, and there'd be like 20 of us talking with Sunseem. Like, we'd be, it was such a small group that we could all sit in a circle and like, we're so close we're like literally looking at him face to face almost, right? And when I 20 people just sitting there talking with him. And he'll look at you, he'll talk about you individually. You can ask questions to him. Like one time when Sunseem went to LA, I believe it was either in January or April. He came twice in 1999. And we're playing soccer together. And then after soccer, we're just, he's sitting at a picnic bench and we're all gathering around. We're listening to him speak. And the leaders introduced these two people who are just amazing at lecturing and evangelism, right? And, sadly, both of them are not here anymore. But Sunseem was introduced to these two people like, oh, this person's already evangelized 5 people and they've been in Providence for like 6 months. Another person here is a really good lecturer, this, and this. And Sunseem closed his eyes and started praying about these people. And he looks at the first person who is an evangelist. And he says, oh, I see your spirit in the spiritual world. And you have a sniper gun. And we're all like, what? That's so crazy. Like, he's going to the spiritual world, seeing the spiritual weapons they have because they're so good at evangelism and lecturing. He's like, yeah, you're a great evangelist. You have a sniper. So you're able to hit these people with one shot and evangelize them kind of thing. And it was amazing because in my head, I was like going, whoa, I want a weapon like that. Because, they're both guys too. And for me as a guy, I'm like, what? I want a bazooka. I want an atomic bomb. I want this. You kind of think to yourself like, oh, what kind of weapon would I want? Oh, I want a Glock 37. I want a Magnum 44. As guys, you're thinking about these guns and these weapons and stuff. I want an AR-15 or whatever, right? And it was like, oh, yeah, I saw your spirit has a sniper gun. And we're just all like, whoa. And then he looked at the lecture. And the lecture, he said that this guy had a huge gold samurai sword. And we're all like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you have spiritual... Like, can you imagine that? Sunseem looks at you like, oh, yeah, by the way, you have, a Gatling gun and you can mow down thousands of people at once kind of thing. Like, I really just like, whoa, you got a laser weapon. Like, that was one of those cool moments. I was like 5-6 months into Providence. Just hearing that was awesome. Like, and for me, especially when it comes to my fondest memories of Sunseem, like being really, really close to him and being next to him and stuff, that was like in Europe from like 1999 in August until like 2001, right? We were traveling. We went to Paris, France, Milan, Italy, London, England, Stuttgart, Germany. And those are the times, just such fond memories. And the people that were there with us, like those of you guys who remember those GACP events over there from 1999 to 2001, man, it was such amazing memories. It was so amazing. The events that Sunseem was doing, like the reason why I like those times, because Sunseem was smiling and laughing so much. Like it was so chill and relaxed. There was dancing and singing. Like, when we're like in Providence, when it's dancing, there's a group that dances at the front. They've prepared for a long time. Or when they're singing, it's usually Sunseem singing or a professional singer and stuff. But during these events, it was so awesome because when we were in England, we rented like a cruise boat and we had a party on there. Music would start and, the majority of these people there are all cultural members. They're not like Providence members. Music comes on, the lights are like the blinking lights and stuff. Everyone just starts dancing on stage. Like, some of them are drunk and stuff like that too. Well, they're not drunk, but they've been drinking. These are all cultural members. And it was so amazing that we start dancing and dancing, and Sunseem's watching us laughing, just laughing and smiling. And then crazy part is, like, the guys from England, would like look at Sunseem, they'd point at him, and they'd be calling out his name to come out and dance. And Sunseem's like smiling and laughing, like he's nodding, he's like shaking his like no, and they're like Sunsang name, right? And then he's like, okay, and then he gets up, he comes into the crowd, the crowd parts. And then in the middle, in this circle, is Sunseem, and he just starts going off. Like, he just starts dancing. Everyone is screaming for him, and he is laughing and enjoying. And that was so crazy, just to have that experience together with Sunseem, just to see him in that mode. It really felt like the way I can't even explain it, but can you feel what I'm feeling? Just sitting there, he would sing, then other people would sing, and the very first time, like, we had the event in Paris, France. That was 1999 in August, I believe, and it was like, it's the very first event we've ever had. And of course, it wasn't well organized at all. We would be at some like community center, and we'd have food laid out, and all of us would be eating and stuff like that. And Sunseem out of nowhere, and he does this all the time with us. He says, and remember, this is like 65 people altogether, and members was like 20. So, we're outnumbered 2-1. So we know the culture of, what Sunseem does and such, but they don't, right? They don't really know the culture of it. And what I found, which was so amazing, was Sunseem, his culture doesn't change. Like, when we're together and Sunseem says, let's do a talent show, we're all like, yeah, and we're all kind of prepared for it, right? We're prepared for it, we're ready to go. We have something ready just in case, right? But remember, these are mainly cultural members. Some of these teams have like one member and like 18 players that are non-members, right? And the culture that Sunseem has, like who he is, that didn't change. It really didn't change. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he says, "Oh, let's have a talent show." And as crazy as this sounds, like every team did something. I remember the Germans did some like cultural song. They all sang together. The Japanese, of course, the Japanese team was all members. They were already prepared. They had like the kimonos and stuff like that. And they already had a dance and everything ready. Sunseem was super happy about the Japanese because they're always prepared and ready. Always. There was 25, I think 20 or 25 players, no, maybe 20, 15, 20 players from Japan that came. They were the only team that came. And you can see how Sunseem really, really, like trusted the Japanese members. Like, they're not going to say anything to anyone. They're not going to say, oh, we're going to, like Korea, once the news spreads, it's done. Everyone's flying over to Paris. I remember Korea, there was 4 cheerleaders that came. 4 cheerleaders, 2 soccer players, and then Sunseem's entourage, which was his youngest brother, 1, 2, I think there was 3 people that came together with Sunseem, plus 4 cheerleaders, plus 2 soccer players. 2 soccer players during that first one. 20 Japanese members. And then the rest were like from America. There was 3 of us that went, and sadly 2 of them are not here anymore. And then there's like a missionary from there's a Korean missionary from France, Korean missionary from Italy, Korean missionary from Spain. I think there's a couple from the UK. It was very few of us, right? And it was just. It was like just to see, like, I'm gonna testify about the Japanese members because they're organized. they're polite. They have manners, right? They can read the situation. They're not going to all just run and crowd around Sunseam and stuff like that too. And like when the talent show came along, they were ready already. Like it was like, honestly, this might sound like I'm putting them down, but I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm like, "Ugh, it's so Japanese," meaning they're prepared for everything. And it's kind of like, wow, like they were definitely the stars of the show when it came to the talent show. And they didn't do anything like immaculate, but it was all done with the soccer players. And they were just prepared for it. They came up and did it, and it inspired the other members to do it. Like everyone was doing something. I thought it was really, really fun. Right? And that was the first event, like in Paris, France. We had nothing prepared. It just was, everything was impromptu. Very, very. And Sunseam was happy and laughing and stuff. It was just to be in that chill and relaxed atmosphere. Dancing, singing, eating, conversations. Not just with Sunseam. Sunseam's talking to culture members. And we're just like, it was so natural, so organic, that when I think about it now, like this is the way you evangelize people. It's not like only about, hey, guess what? We got to be the ones that go out and, ask them to do Bible study. Oh, we've gathered this many soccer players. All right, now is the time to preach the gospel to them. It was nothing like that. He wasn't even sitting there like telling people to do Bible study. He would testify about what God did in his life, and that's it. That's what he would do. This is what God has done in my life, and God has brought me to this point. I was living in this poverty, but now I'm here, kind of thing, right? And just that setting, you get to see what Sunseam's like when he's with the people in the world, and it's very comfortable. Lots of laughing, lots of joking around, smiling, and being in that atmosphere. It just made me really, really happy. It really did. And what was probably one of the most amazing things was seeing how people responded to Sunseam, like these cultural members, not religious at all. Like I remember this one time in Paris, France. We're playing soccer, and this is the first time everyone's met. Like, and all these soccer players that these were like some of this. Like, I became close friends with these people. I saw them like 3-4 times in these tournaments. We would know each other by name and be like, "Hey, good to see you again." We would hug like the second and third time and fourth time we met. But the first event was in Paris. No one knows each other. We're kind of like, we're all strangers and everyone's just trying to win the soccer game. That's all we're trying to do. Like these cultural members are all they're trying to do. It becomes a little bit aggressive and rough. And as Sunseam was going through these events, like Sunseam was doing everything for them. He was like giving out free food. He was pouring drinks for them. If people had scratches, or he put ointment on and he put bandages. And, a lot of people would look at that and say, "Oh, come on, why would you demean yourself to that level," kind of thing. But people respond to it. People respond when they're treated nice and there's genuine care for these people. And by the time you reach the second day of the event, whenever there was rough play, where like say the Italian team might have been a little bit too rough, the players would all go to Sunseam. They're like, "Hey, Sunseam, like, look at this. Like, they're hitting me." Like they would come to him, like, because he treated them so well. He's the one making sure that they had everything that they needed. And whenever there was a problem, they would come to Sunseam. And you just see that Sunseam had this gravitational pull. They wouldn't come to anyone else. They wouldn't even go to their own captains. They would go directly to Sunseam. Right? They would go directly to Sunseam all the time. They didn't complain to him, but they're asking for help. And they know that he's the one that controls the situation and he can fix the situation. Right? And when I saw, like, it's really incredible because they don't speak the same language. Right? They don't even speak the same language, but they'll come to him. Right? And sometimes there's no translator because the translator's not there yet, but they're speaking with like body language, like, "Hey, Sunseam, look at my scratch. Oh, they kicked me," and they do a kicking motion and stuff like that too. And for me to be able to witness these things, it's when I look at it now, I don't think I'm not going to realize the full impact and the full importance of these times that I witnessed until much later, when people are asking about these stories, when people are asking, like, people are going to be gushing over these stories. Oh, what happened here? What happened here? And these people that will never get a chance to see Sunsteam in action, like there'll come a point where Sunsteam's not healthy enough to play soccer. It's just reality, right? And people are going to ask, what was it like playing soccer with Sunsteam? What's it like playing soccer? Like, there's so many memories. And when I think about all these memories I had over the last 25 years, it makes me realize why the Gospels were written so late. Because even the disciples, they don't realize how important these moments together with Jesus were until way later. Think about it. The Gospels weren't even written until the first Gospel was written 40 years after Jesus' death. And the latest Gospel was written 80 years after Jesus' death. So think about that. This is 40 to 80 years after Jesus died, the Gospels were written. Can you imagine that? Like, is it going to take that long for us to realize how important these moments are going to be? Because I remember in the past, when Sunsteam was writing books, Sunsteam was saying, go write books. Everyone write books. In the future, people are going to read these books. In the future, they're going to wonder about who the disciples were when the man of mission was living. And they want to hear those stories, the behind the scenes, what they were going through. And this this is one of the reasons why I started the Sunday edition. Remember those Sunday edition interviews I did, interviewing members from around the world? What were their testimonies, what they went through? I took them down now because of all the craziness that happened. And a lot of people are asking me to take them down temporarily. And, and also on top of it, I have no idea who left. I'm going to have to do an inventory of who actually left, right? But I think that they will start to come out again. Eventually, right? Like I think soon. Like even looking at what's happening in Korea, people are gonna start putting it out again. They're gonna say, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm cool with it. I want my testimony to be out there," and I think it's gonna happen, right? So yeah, it's just watching that video on Thursday. Think about it. I just talked for 20 minutes on like Sunsteam and such, and it was all triggered from seeing that video on Thursday pre-dawn of Sunsteam preaching in Wonmindong and stuff like that too. But yeah, like guys, if you have any testimonies or even something small you want to share, like I know some people out there that probably have some great stories. Like JFO, I know you're out there over there in Italy. Oh, you have got to have some amazing stories. JFO, I've known her since like 1998 and she was close. Like, yeah. Gosh, I want to hear some of those stories that I've never heard of. Also, there's people out there here on MSD from everywhere, and you guys have stories. Guys, make an audio. Make an audio so that people can hear your testimonies. I would love to hear them too. All right. So yeah, that's just kind of a trip down memory lane. I hope it's something that you guys really enjoyed and benefited from. All right. So let's get into our first break of the day. All right, so let's get into today's word study. And every Friday we have the Wednesday message word study. And what a powerful word study it was. Oh man, like it was very convicting. It was very piercing at the same time. And, a lot of this, remember, it stems from the situation that is happening right now in Providence. And from there, we get realizations about our own lives and stuff like that, too. So I hope that everyone really were convicted, right? And I'm convicted meaning that it kind of, it pushes you to testify. Those of you guys out there, I know you have great stories, whether you're in the Philippines, in Singapore, Malaysia, right? Like I said, I want to hear like the full, I would love to hear the story about someone's perspective, what they felt when they were at Port Dixon when the tide stopped. Or, if you're in Japan or Taiwan, America, right? All over Europe, Canada, like there's people with testimonies. And I'm hoping that you guys are willing to share. And of course, after that Wednesday message, you're like, man, it is time to testify, right? The message was very, very powerful, and the whole point was about testifying, right? That was like the key point, to testify. And of course, in order for us to testify properly, we need to know correctly, right? And then we need to be those that not only know correctly, but we need to believe in this history, believe in the man of mission of this time period, and then take action on the word. And this is when we're able to have to have the best type of knowledge is putting it into action, understanding it that much better, right? So, yeah, it's the big question is, should we preach fearfully and timidly? Should we be shy about preaching or testifying? And, Sunstein kept saying to us, do you know what history, we're in God's true history. And if you realized how great this history is, even in the midst of the darkest hour, the darkest tribulation, where people might say bad things about you, this is a time you need to preach more boldly. You have to preach majestically. Talk about the signs. Talk about the miracles that were performed. Talk about the things that you experienced, the stories between you and God, right? Because it's the Holy Trinity and Jesus that have been working together with all of us, and this is why we're able to experience all those things. And those experiences were not there for us to testify timidly, not to testify selectively, right? It's to testify because this is how much we've been affected by. Like this reminds me of one of the stories that I went through when playing in Italy. I was playing in Italy, yeah, and I broke my collarbone, and Sunstein healed my collarbone. And the realization I had through it was, I was healed by Sunstein. And because I never talked about it, I went through the same injury again when I went back to America. And the realization that I had is like, you have these, the signs and miracles that happen to you, and they're given to you so you can testify about how great God truly is, right? Yeah, people are intimidated. People are fearful. They're shy. They're afraid. And because of that, we may preach only a little. But we at this time have to be more bold, right? And Sunstein gave examples. Like think about 1978 to 1998. Like this is the time of the public ministry. Why did the history grow so powerfully? Because Sunstein preached boldly, and he said, like an exploding volcano, right? He says you got to preach boldly because once you lose that fire, and once you start speaking timidly, then you won't do it anymore. Right? He says, preach like I did in the first half. And it didn't matter how much money we had. It didn't matter if we were starving. It didn't matter if we didn't even have a nice church. And he was talking about Samsungyo and like no food, no proper shelter, like a shabby place, but they evangelized day and night, day and night, day and night. Dozens of students kept coming each and every day. And now there's churches in every region in Korea. But would that have been possible if we were intimidated, if we were fearful? It's like, some people just come to Providence because you tell them how Womindong was made, right? Tell people about how it was made. Tell people about how God saved your life, right? Tell people about how history has been fulfilled. Like we need to live, not with intimidated hearts. Why? One thing Sunstein said in the message was, once you are intimidated, your faith becomes crippled, but not just in your spirit, but also in your body, because you're intimidated and you fear, right, to go out and do anything. The moment you're intimidated, you cripple your faith and you no longer receive blessings. And when Sunsim talked about his life and his faith in Jesus, the one thing he said is, I was absolute about Jesus. Absolute. I saved people being Jesus's body. I preached with passion. I considered that what I was saying was not me saying, it was God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus talking to these people. Don't regret. Excuse me. Ugh. He says, don't regret. Don't regret later when your body has left the world. Don't regret later. Or don't think to yourself as I'll do it later when I have a chance to do it, but you failed to do it. The Holy Trinity and Jesus said that if you miss this chance, in the future, it'll never come back again. And there's 2 reasons why we don't do it, right? Or there's 3 reasons. Number 1 is we don't do it because we're lazy. The second reason is we don't do it because we don't know the value. And the third reason is we don't do it because we're not brave, right? But if we don't do it, then we end up just becoming these small people in heaven. It's those who have taken action are considered to be big in heaven. Those who have taken action are the counterparts of love in the golden city. And some seems like this reminds me of what he said when he was first locked up, first in prison, right? He's like, I'm locked up now, but all I'm thinking about is now is the chance to deliver the words of God. That's what he's thinking about while he's there. Delivering the words of God is what he wants to do. And you're like, wow, even in that situation, all he can think about is delivering the word. Do the work as the body of the Lord. Do the work as the body of God, as the body of the Holy Spirit. And he says, do it while you still have a body. And that's powerful. Because once you lose your body, you can't do it. You'll never be able to do it again. So we, looking at Sunsim, is like, hey, do as the head does. If the head is doing it, then we need to do it. And even during tribulation, we still need to take action like the man of mission. We got to get up at pre-dawn. We got to pray at pre-dawn. Even if we're so tired, like beyond exhaustion, we got to pray. God said, this is God's words, wake the pre-dawn because I am waiting. I'm already there and I'm waiting. In the end, what's going to matter is whether we did it or not. Like, did we take action or not? That's going to be the major thing. And I think I like the way Sunsim said it there, because it wasn't, in the end, it's about how many people you evangelized in the end. It's like, no. It's about, did you go out to evangelize? Did you go out and preach? It wasn't, how many people did you evangelize? No. Did you go out and do it? And right now is like even a bigger opportunity, because in the time of tribulation, when you take action, you can reach higher levels that you couldn't reach when things are normal or when things are great. This is the opportunity. This is the chance. And realize God is helping even more in this time right now. Right now, you are going to climb to a higher level than you couldn't have done before. Which means that the one thing that made me feel really great about this is like, yeah, because I lost a lot during the pandemic, right? I lost that fire. I lost so much during that time. I lost that fire of prayer. So many things I lost during that pandemic time. But it's like now you can reach higher than you did before because you're in this difficult time. So we need to use this time right now. This time right now is the ideal time to reach new levels. And then, of course, Sunsim talked about the people that betrayed, right? Like, what is true betrayal? And, it was really sad because, just hearing him talking about betrayal again, he's feeling it. Like, his shimjung is so deep on this matter of being betrayed of love. He says the rapture is a rapture of love. The moment you betray love is when the rapture ends. Right? What is betrayal? Is to go separate paths. Like that's betrayal. Like when you think about people thinking they're going to make their own church, or when you think about people who say they think they're doing things for Sunsteam, but they're actually going against what Sunsteam wants, they're going a separate path. When Sunsteam says, don't go that way. And if they continue to go that way, what happens? Then they're going the path that the Lord doesn't want. They are betraying the love. And, Sunsteam went into that story. It's a very, very famous story where Sunsteam promised to give his entire life up to Jesus. I will live with you, Jesus. Whatever you want, I'll do. Even if I'm poor, even all these other different things, I'll do it. And then, then his heart kind of changed. And he thought to himself, maybe I'll just be an announcer. Because if I become an announcer, I can still preach the gospel, right, to more people. And that sounds like this. It doesn't sound like a wrong thing because he's still thinking about preaching to the ends of the earth. I preach and reach out to more people. But it wasn't together with the Lord. It wasn't together with Jesus. And that's why, that's when Sunsteam kept talking about, even if you're in Providence, you can be going against the will. You can be betraying while in Providence, not doing the right thing. And you can tell he's talking about the situation when it comes to the people who are kind of split inside Providence, saying that, you should replace this head leader, these headquarters, like kind of going separate from everything that Sunsteam wants. Right? And it's kind of what Sunsteam did. He wanted to be an announcer. Yes, he's still coming with good intentions. He's still coming thinking like, I want to preach the gospel to even more people. He practiced day and night to be an announcer. He thought he could preach to all. It would be more ideal that he can preach and tell everyone to come to God. But then you hear that he had that injury. And if you know the story, he was a goalkeeper. And during that game, there was a loose ball. He went out to grab the ball and someone was, he's wearing his army boots, went to kick the ball at the same time that he dove on the ball, and the guy ended up kicking Sunsteam's head. And they said that when he kicked the head, there was like a split in the middle of the brain. And it's true. Doctors said there's no chance he's gonna die, right? And the doctors are like, you got like 30 minutes to live. And this is where the conversation between Jesus and Sunsteam came. He's like, I saved you so many times. I have done so much for you. But now you're going on another path. This is betrayal. Right? It's the same thing as like saying, I don't like you. It's the same thing as saying that, we don't match anymore. You're just taking the path you want while living in this history. And that's something that kind of resonates with like, at the miniature level, what are we doing that's only what we want? Right? What's something that only we think about? Like, I'm in this history, but I'd rather do this. And we disregard what God wants or the Lord or the promises that we made. So, it was something, he thought he was doing something better for the Lord. But he failed to please the heart of Jesus and failed to fulfill his promises. And then, Jesus came back. He left and came back. And he said, I will be your guarantor. I'll be the person that vouches for you, right? And, if you fail, then I fail. You promised 30,000 people to evangelize, so how are you going to do it? And from that point on, Sunsteam began to ask Jesus again. He says, all right, Jesus, I'll do it. I'll recommit my life. And then Sunsteam naturally, without any surgery, slowly began to recover each and every day. Even though there's no surgeon available, it was better because I think in the original story, he said if he had the surgery, he would have died. And when Sunsteam finally got released from the hospital, he went home, just prayed and repented for betraying the Lord. And he said, I started to pray like I prayed before, and I vowed again. And he began to live with Jesus again, like his lover, just living together in love. It wasn't about anything else. It wasn't about the fame or the power, the wealth, reaching out more people, whatever it is. It was just about living together. And that's what Sunsteam did. And then he stopped studying to be an announcer, and he started to preach the words. And he just went out on the streets preaching and preaching and preaching. Didn't care about money, food, fortune, environment, everything. He's just like, I'm only going to live with God. That's it. All I need to do is love Jesus, and I'm done. So, and some people might say Jesus, like, you're going to spend your life with Jesus, and like, they'll look down on someone living only for Jesus. But Sunseem's like, do you think the Messiah is just a man? Right? How ignorant, how foolish to think that way. He is the King of Kings. He saves both body and spirit. He appeared 2,000 years ago as God's body. He is the greatest person since creation. Realize this. And he said that's what Jesus made him realize. And I looked at it, I was like, wow, like that's it's so deep when you think about the stories that Sunseem gives. And I really like that point when Sunseem said that Jesus wouldn't tell him what was his future, what was in store for him. So he just kept learning and praying. And Jesus taught him little by little, and through the past, through as time passed, then he learns when the time comes. And I think it's the same with us too. I think we need to realize also is a lot of times we're going to go through certain things and we're not going to know why we go through it, where God's not going to tell us what's in store for us. But if God truly loves us, and it reminds me of like Romans chapter 8, when he's like, God only has good plans for those that love him. He's got only good things in mind for us. We just got to work on it little by little. Right? Little by little he learned. Little by little he learned all the lessons. And then he started doing charts. And then he eventually started to preach in Seoul. And look at the history right now. It is 1,000, 10,000 times better than what it was before. Right? Jobs will come and go. Like he said, being an announcer, that's going to come and go. But this history will go on for the next 1,000 years. And I think we need to look at that too is, if we get too focused on our jobs or too focused on the things that don't last forever, right? That we need to understand what are the plans that God has for us. And it was such a great reminder to hear those stories. It really was. And so he said, learn from me. The one thing that you can learn from me is that I did things because I wanted to do it. It was voluntary. In whatever you do, know that God cannot force you to do anything. Can you give offering because you're forced to? No. Can you love by force? The answer is absolutely not. No one can force us. It is all voluntary. And, this is the confession that Sunseem gave to Jesus too. Like, I confess and I give you my life. And then later on, what happens? Sunseem was dirt poor. Even when Sunseem began to preach the gospel, dirt poor. But look at him now. God built him a house, he was allowed Sunseem to make God's temple. All the things that he's wanted, he's gotten. He's become the body. And what Jesus is telling all of us right now is follow the example. Follow the example. Right? So, it's a big difference between living according to our own will and living according to God's will. And, it's really strong when you think about when it's like betrayal. What is betrayal? Is to go on your own path. And I think we need to look at that individually, each and every one of us. Have we strayed or gone on our own path when we shouldn't have? Right? We need to repent. We need to come back to life. Right? And, it's really sad when Sunseem says stuff like, you are claiming to do things for me. You're claiming to do things for this history, but you're not. So you'll be cut off from the love of the Holy Trinity, the love of Jesus and the love of man and mission. And it's really sad to hear that it's gone to this point, right? All these things are shattered. All the things we worked up to, even the rapture will be shattered. And that's why you've got to repent and you got to come back. Stop doing things according to your own thinking, right? Be smart, learn, right? So, I hope that all of us, we're not going to fail to take action, but we'll be those that really understand deeply of what we need to do. And this time of testifying, like look at how people are like testifying in front of the world, basically 12,000, 10,000, 3,000, 1,500. Like that's a lot of people. Like the largest group I've spoken in front of was like 1,400 people at Yonsei University, right? And and that's something that we really, really need to understand, right? For me, it's like, wow, like even the smallest gathering is larger than what I've spoken in front of too. But these people are testifying for this history for Sunstream too. It is a time to testify. We'll never get this chance back. And we need to do things and kind of raise a level of our faith, and we have to reach that type of level, right? One thing that I really liked is when Sunstream talked about things will happen according to your faith. Your love is according to your faith. So it's like, if you want to start healing people, you want the power to heal people, you will exercise the power to heal, but according to your faith. Right? When you drink the healing water, the medicinal water in Wolmyeongdong, you will be healed according to your faith. You will evangelize according to your faith. You're going to make your environment, everything is according to your faith, to the level of your faith, right? And we have to kind of reach that level. We have to realize that we can't be those that betray the Lord, betray the one that God has sent, and start walking on our own path. Like, this is not the time for, a lot of times people might think to themselves, wow, this is a time to take a break. This is a time that I'm not going to do anything. This is time just for me to wait on the side. No, this is a time you got to do, right? If you look at any industry, for me, I looked at crypto and stocks. This is a time where all the people think it's time to get out, so they sell all their stocks, they sell all their crypto, and the rich people swoop in and take everything at 50% off. And guess what's going to happen? 2, 3, 4 years later, all those coins and stocks are going to go back up to what they were and even higher. And people are going to regret. They're going to come up and make even more money, right? The time of tribulation is actually the opportunity. It's not the time to run away. It's not the time to be intimidated. It's not the time to be shy. It's the time to get up and testify. At the time of the early Christian church, when were they testifying? They were testifying while they were being killed. They were testifying while they were persecuted. They were testifying while the government was against them. And this is why that time of martyrdom, that time where they gave up their lives, became the foundation of the Christian church today. That without that, you wouldn't have the church becoming the state religion of Rome. That's how powerful it is right now. Right? That last thing Sunstream said was, he's like, hey, you know what the will of God is? The will of God is God's heart. And the question I give to you is, do you dare center on yourself? And I hope that's something that all of us will look into our lives at a miniaturized level. Yes, we know what's going on in the large scale, and we know that is a problem, but God speaks to our hearts and say, what about us? What about you in your situation right now? What are those small things that you're doing on your own, where you're thinking about only by yourself? And that's got to change. Right? This is the time. So I really, really, it was such a blessed message to get. To listen to that Wednesday message. So clear, so cutting, so piercing, and so convicting at the same time. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed that. I loved the Wednesday message, and it cut deep. And I was like, yeah, that's true. So even for me, I just posted a new video on my Patreon for a lesson I just taught yesterday. And I just refreshed to start teaching again. I taught the Holy Trinity. I'm teaching all these power lessons right now, the core lessons. I'm just like, man, I'm starting by teaching these ones. But I hope you guys really enjoyed that too. But it's time to get back into it. All right? So there it is, guys. That is the Wednesday message word study. I hope it's something that you guys super enjoyed. All right? So let's get into the second break of the day.
Shared like photographs, they're clear in my mind. I will remember those times became our history, and they're recorded in eternity. Now because of you, I can live without worry or shame, for my whole life has changed. The dreams that we have hoped for until now, the will that we have kept without a doubt, they become my soul's melody, the beautiful song my spirit sings, the become all mine. I will live eternally, recalling those moments vividly. Dreams that we have hoped for until now, the will that we have kept without a doubt. They become my soul's melody, the beautiful song my spirit sings. The days when we took action side by side, the blessings that have now become all mine. I will live eternally, recalling those moments vividly. La 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 la, la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la. I will remember forever and more. La 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 la, la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la. I will remember forever and more.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment of the day and the entire week. Every Friday we have Until the End Mental Health Podcast with Daniel Baker all the way over in Korea. I'm sure we're going to enjoy another wonderful episode. Hope you guys are looking forward to it too, just as I am. Everyone, please welcome all the way from Korea where the summer retreats are going on. This is Daniel Baker with
Hello, everyone.
Until the
Welcome
End.
to the Until the End podcast, the podcast where we talk about mental health, realizations, and we get a lot of testimonies. So, I really want to thank everyone that is listening to the podcast right now, and I really am curious, how is your week? Because I just want to say, and this is going to be the topic of today's podcast, but a lot has changed within 1 week. I think this is the most change that's happened within a week in my life. So, what the heck happened? Why am I saying this massive change has happened? So, first, I got my license, right? And a lot of people in Korea, they get their license and they don't drive right away, right? Because when you drive right away in Korea, the insurance is so expensive. It's like $300 or $3,000 a year in Korea for people that are 18, 19 years old. And it's so expensive that people don't drive. However, I am a very interesting case because I live in the countryside, and the reason why America legalized or made the age of getting a license so low is because younger people that are in the countryside, they need to drive cars around. They can't just rely on their family. And so I'm a very interesting situation because I have to walk around everywhere. In the past, I've been walking around 45 minutes from my house to Jinsan. I had 30 minutes to Wormdong. It's crazy. And, when it's crazy hot outside, like 36 degrees Celsius, it's terrible to just be around the sun. And it's like one of the hardest things I've ever done, like walking in in super sunny conditions. And the one of the reasons why I got my license was because of myself, because I needed to drive around and make sure that I don't pass out because I get heat stroke. But one of the other reasons I got it was because of the SS, because so first I got my driver's license, but also I got insurance, even though it's very expensive, because I need it for transportation, and I got insurance through my family. And that means that I have a car and I'm driving it every day for over 2 hours a day because, morning service, also I have work. So I'm driving it a lot, right? So 1 week ago, I wasn't driving at all. I barely knew how to drive. However, I got my driver's license and I'm driving like every day for over 1 hour. And I'm taking SS to morning service. I'm making sure everyone's making sure that everyone, I'm kind of giving back the favors that everyone given to me, because in the past, I asked and, a lot of people helped me with car rides and those stuff. So I got to make sure that I keep my relationships good. So very interesting situation, but also one of the amazing things that happened, one of the amazing changes that happened within this week was me and one SS and one SS teacher. So 3 people came together and we started doing a prayer condition, a 70-day prayer condition that it goes until October 21st. And so it's 70 days. We are praying for multiple reasons. The Sensei court case, for ourselves, for all of the things that's happening within Providence, the protests. We're praying for all of this stuff because we truly believe right now is the most important time that everyone in Providence should pray. Everyone in Providence should repent and really connect with the Trinity and Jesus right now. Right now is the time of learning, right? So within 1 week, I got my driver's license. I also, there was the SS retreat. There was also the campus retreat. So like within 1 week, a lot about my life changed, right? Something huge changed, right? Within multiple aspects of my life changed. And it's very interesting because sometimes in life, I'm realizing that sometimes in life, when you get to the point where, oh, my life is so boring. Oh, my life is so, it's so similar to this. Each day is similar. I'm waking up at the same time. I'm eating the same food. But some days, sometimes, God just changes your life so dramatically that you cannot see, or you're like, I cannot believe I'm doing this right now. Like, if you work really hard for a YouTube channel for 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day, and you work really hard, you make a lot of videos, you might be saying to yourself, man, this day is very similar to the last day. I'm working hard on my videos, but suddenly you might get 1 million views on one of your videos and you got $1,000, $2,000 in revenue from that one video. Then what do you want to say to yourself? Oh, it was just a regular day. No, right? You're going to say, man, God gave me this opportunity to change. And through that opportunity of getting 1 million views, you can try to steamroll and make a more passive amount of income. And it's an opportunity that God gives you. And through one of the Proverbs recently, within the week, God said, it is very important to take the opportunity that God gives you. Because if time flows, if time passes you by and you regret, there's no going back to that time and taking action. You're not going to get that opportunity again. This is about the whole situation. Whatever everyone's going to think about different things, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Protecting Sensei, protecting this history, evangelizing. Even I forgot that this is the year of evangelism. Why did Sensei say to evangelize during this hard year? Why? This is something that everyone needs to realize. I'm not going to tell you the answer because I want you guys to think about that. Something to think about within this next week. I truly pray that everyone could come together and really change themselves, change their lives. Because when they change, or when God gives you the opportunity to change in a massive way, that's when we grow the most. Change is good for growth. Change is good for becoming a better bride, a better person, and a better lover to the Trinity. I want to thank everyone for listening to this podcast segment. I've been having a lot of fun because I've been meeting a lot of American Providence members in Korea, in Warmerdam, and a lot of fun playing bowling, some hanging out. Y'all know who you are when I talk about you on the podcast, but whenever you're in Korea, whenever you're in the Warmerdam, contact me. We can meet up. We can have a lot of fun times. And to everyone who's improving their lives to become closer to the Lord, let's walk this path together. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, so wonderful and awesome episode by Daniel Baker. I'm very thankful and grateful for all the hard work that he's doing, going over these podcasts and such, doing these segments. But he's just doing such an amazing job as a member of this history. And, he's going to be a future leader. So I hope that all of us can keep praying for him and leave some encouragement and praises for him in the comment section below too. All right, so there it is, guys. This is the end of today's and this whole week's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a wonderful and awesome day and an awesome weekend too. And we'll see you guys again on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like